So guys, we're in the new studio. I have a little baby kitty with me. She's very cuddly, so forgive the intrusion. So I wasn't gonna talk about this. It's just not usually my cup of tea, but after it's been hyped up so much, everybody's discussing it. I feel like I should throw my hat in the ring, and also I have sort of an obligation to, because I think a lot of people are about to throw money at some con men and are going to be very, very disappointed and unable to recover that. So I just want to get my thoughts out there. Take it or leave it. Also, new studio. How awesome is this? Forgive the slight echo. We're still working on noise cancellation stuff for this back wall and for the floors, but all told, I'm really excited. Hopefully it looks half decent. This is where the magic happens and where we're going to be making more videos. So yeah, in all seriousness though, I couldn't do any of this stuff without you. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed and liked the videos in the past. It actually has helped contribute to this. So truly, thank you. But before we get into it, real quick, I want to let you know that the latest critique, Spider-Man Miles Morales, is up for patrons as of right now. So if you want to see that video early, it's about an hour and a half long. All you have to do is sign up for Patreon. It's only $1. It'll be live for everybody else next week, but as always, seeing something early is kind of fun, so check it out. And lastly, before we get into it, I want to say a quick thank you to the sponsor of this video, without whom it could not have been made, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for every kind of learner. Whether you're looking to improve your photography, video editing skills, or painting, Skillshare has the classes to help you achieve your goals. I, for one, really struggle with time management, making sure that I can get these videos out in a timely manner. For this reason, I searched Skillshare for some classes to help me with productivity, and I found Productivity for Creatives by Thomas Frank. In this course, he basically explains that productivity is like a muscle. You have to exercise it and keep on it, and he shares lots of exercises to help you do just that. And I can personally attest, it works. I've also taken a ton of classes to help me improve my editing skills in Premiere Pro, my software of choice, Photoshop to improve thumbnails, and even writing to help with scripts. Truly, regardless of what skill you're trying to refine and improve, Skillshare likely has the courses taught by industry professionals to help you do just that. And as if all of this wasn't good enough, they're also including a free 1-month trial to the first 1,000 people that click on the links in the description box below. You'll have access to all of these courses and more. Just click the link in the description box or in the pinned comment to check it out. With that out of the way, let's break down this conspiracy theory, what it is, how it happened, what the evidence for it is, and why I think this is so incredibly dangerous, not just for this game, but for games moving forward, because it sets a pretty worrisome precedent. So most of the evidence has been collected by this individual by the name of Aid This Fellow User on Reddit. Did a great job collecting a bunch of things that people have used as evidence for this conspiracy theory. I don't know why that's in quotes, because it is a conspiracy theory. It's pretty crazy, and we're going to kind of go through it piece by piece. So all of this started when BlueBox Games, which is an unknown studio as far as anybody can tell, revealed Abandoned, which is a PS5 exclusive game. Now they're saying it's only a timed exclusive. It'll be coming to PC in the future. They say it's an exclusive game about a guy that gets lost in the woods. And to be honest, everything that they show here is really underwhelming. Does not look good. It's choppy. It looks like it's running at 20 FPS for some reason. It's using recycled assets direct off the Unreal library of free assets. It's just not impressive. Looks kind of crappy. And people are using it and taking it as evidence of a secret Silent Hill game that's in production and that Hideo Kojima is actually making, but is using a fake studio to do it and to advertise for reasons. And they finished the trailer off with probably the worst looking fire I've ever seen in any trailer, possibly ever. They finish it with Abandoned, and then they continue. They say it's releasing Q4 of 2021. Now, setting aside just how terrible these levels actually look, you can see the two-dimensional textures that are clipping inside of rocks and other foliage here on the bottom. This tree is growing out of a rock, something that you would think they would catch if this was their big reveal trailer. All told, it just screams of an asset flip of quick and poor quality work, and they happened to get featured in a PlayStation showcase because they're one of the few games that's being released on PS5. They needed to fill out the show, so they put it up here. And to be honest, across the board, it just doesn't look good at all. The gun is a free asset, the trees are free assets, the hand is a free asset, all of these rocks, everything is reused, recycled, and garbage. So when all of this was revealed, people looked at it and said, it's fine, but probably not worth getting until we see some actual reviews and gameplay, because apparently this isn't reflective of gameplay at all. This is like a completely separate thing for some reason. So people for the most part just forgot about it. But then BlueBox Games came out and tweeted the following. Now I had to find a retweet of this picture on Twitter because the original tweet has been deleted recently, likely because Konami has knocked on BlueBox Games' doors and been like, hey, cut it out, stop pretending like you're a Silent Hill game, you're gonna get us in trouble, you're gonna piss off a lot of people, it's bad. And this is the tweet that we're referring to. They sent this out for some reason saying, guess the name, Abandoned, equals the first letter S, last letter L, reveal closing in, PS5 exclusive. Now the name of the game is literally Abandoned. So to see them imply that there's another name, in this case one that starts with S and ends with L, would imply that there's some sort of secret title, something that hasn't been announced yet. It begins with S and it ends with L. We know that this is a survival horror game. What else could it be other than Silent Hill? And that's what started all of this. People saw this tweet and started looking for a reason to believe that this was actually a secret Silent Hill game that Hideo Kojima was developing and that he was using BlueBox Games as a cover for. Oh, hello, Hermione. This is Hermione, by the way. She's very sweet and very cuddly at the moment, so forgive any meows that you might hear. She's just in a cuddly mood. Now, what's crazy is that this isn't that unbelievable for Hideo Kojima. He's actually used fake studios to promote games and release games in the past. If you recall Metal Gear Solid 5, he used a fake studio, and for PT, he used a fake studio, famously known as 7780 Studio. Apparently he did this because he wanted the games to stand on their own, to not just be hyped up because they came from him. He wanted people to love the game because it was good or hate it because it was bad. He didn't want there to be some sort of weird cultish hype around it, which is ironic because with Death Stranding it was the polar opposite, and that game was sold pretty much entirely on the hype surrounding Kojima. But the point is, this is actually something that Hideo Kojima would do. It's possible that he would create some no-name made-up studio, release a trailer for a game that looks kind of meh, and then release the actual Silent Hills game under that same title and see what people thought of it. If it was to explode because it was phenomenal, or if it would just fall by the wayside because it came from some no-name studio. Something he would do. And so people started looking for evidence anywhere that they could find it. They found it, for instance, in interviews surrounding the composer for Silent Hill previously, who said that he was working on a game that was set for release later this year. So people saw that Abandoned had been announced for release later this year, said maybe it's the same game. Maybe the Silent Hill composer is working on this no-name game. It's possible. They looked on Hideo Kojima's Instagram and found this picture of him holding a vaguely blue box, and they said that this was evidence that Hideo Kojima was actually in control of BlueBox Game Studios because he's holding a vaguely blue box in this picture. which is evidence. Or they take this example of a tweet from Hideo Kojima where he says, "Thanks Harper Books, The Silent Wife by Karen Slaughter, the latest in the Will Trent series. The last window was kidnapping action, and then there's Joe Hill's short story Full Throttle. He's much more interesting in short stories than in long ones. Looking forward to both of them." Now you might be asking, how on earth is that evidence of this conspiracy theory? And I hear you, my friend. What words does he use in this tweet that could tie into a secret project he has not announced? Well, he uses the word silent and the word hill. But hill is there in the course of this tweet. So clearly, if you just ignore all of this, except for this word and this word, clearly he's referencing a Silent Hill game. And pretty much immediately, people in the replies started referencing Silent Hills, because this is just how people are now. They see Kojima say the word silent and hills, not even in the same sentence, in the same paragraph. And clearly that's a confirmation of this. Now, granted, a lot of this is like hyped up and exaggerated, and people aren't actually serious in believing that Kojima is, I guess, indicating that there's a secret project underway. But still, like, there are some people that are actually getting hyped up because of this. People also pointed to this picture, which is a promotional piece for PT, again, 7780 Studios, which at the time was all we really knew about the teaser trailer. And of course, this doesn't actually have anything to do with the actual PT game trailer demo thing that we got. Of course, that whole thing takes place inside of a hallway, so the forest doesn't make much sense. But people took this and said that it looked like the same forest, except after a few years, which I don't see it. This one from 2014 looks way better than this one, so I don't see it. But who knows? Maybe I'm just skeptical. Maybe I'm a doubter. I'm a critic, a cynic, and I'm just not giving it a fair chance. Maybe that's it. People also looked up the Blue Box Game Studios YouTube channel, which doesn't have any content, but the banner is a bunch of hills and mountains. I would say mountains, but some people are saying hills, and they look fairly serene and hence silent. So obviously this is a reference to Silent Hills. And if you go to discussion, you can actually see people referencing Kojima has done it again. Wow, some nice hills you've got in your banner here. Again, a good amount of this is just in jest and is fun and silly, but some people are actually convinced that this studio is working on a Silent Hills game. But who are these guys? Who actually works at Blue Box Studios? Is it an actual company? Have they done other work before? What's going on? Well, it turns out they're a game development studio founded in 2015 that is based out of the Netherlands and is headed up by a guy named Hassan Karaman. And this is an individual that by all accounts seems to be real. He has a PlayStation Network ID that you can find. He has his own email, Twitter accounts. People have been talking with him with regards to this whole thing that's going on. He's a real guy. Probably. So people started looking at Hassan to see if there was any evidence that he might have some relation to Kojima, or maybe he works with Kojima and he's helping him keep all of this secret. So they started with his name by putting it into Google Translate, and what they found pretty amazingly is that when you put Hideo into Google Translate, specifically as Japanese, and then translate it to Turkish, it actually comes out from Hideo to Karaman, which is this guy's last name. So in a way, Hideo Kojima and Hassan Karaman actually share a name, which is pretty crazy. Now, furthermore, according to a Turkish friend that I have and another person I've worked with on some plays who lived in Japan for a while, Hideo Kojima basically just translates to the beautiful hero or something along those lines. That's what the name means, at least in its purest form. And Hassan Karaman translates to handsome hero in Turkish, which is similar to beautiful or visually appealing hero, something along those lines. So in effect, they have the same name. Now, my buddy did stress that he knows like 3 people with the last name Karaman. Apparently, it's a very common last name in Turkey and the surrounding areas. So it's not like this is a super rare thing. This is like having a character named John Smith or somebody you encounter with the last name, Michaels or something. It's not very rare, for the record, but still, it's kind of crazy they actually seem to share the same name. Not to mention, they also share the same initials, which some people are using as evidence for this conspiracy theory as well. Hasan Karaman, Hideo Kojima, HK. Could be a sign. But let's get more specific. Who exactly is Hasan Karaman? Well, by all accounts and measures, everything that we can find out about him, he's just a game developer that is known for putting together some simple, quick asset flip type games on the App Store, and he's tried to do GoFundMes for a couple of other projects that never actually went anywhere. And by all accounts and measures, he's just a guy that uses free assets off the internet, throws games together quickly, and then tries to sell them for a quick buck. You can actually find his account on the Apple developers website, where you can pull up everything that he's done as far as game development is concerned. And he's got a few like Finger Football, Color Rush, Head Volleyball, Hole versus Bombs, Head Football XL, and all of these are just really crappy, thrown together, again, asset flipped games. I mean, you can even see from game to game, they look similar. Same exact controls. He just swaps out what the characters look like with free clip art that he finds online. And that's it. Now, like I said, this guy and this studio, BlueBox Games, has actually been around since 2015. They were founded in April of that year, actually exactly a year after the release of PT, which is a little crazy and also coincidental, but it also feeds the idea that Hideo Kojima is possibly involved and that he founded this studio or company exactly a year after the release of PT to, I guess, symbolize that this was the continuation of that project. And then he had these guys release really crappy asset flip games over the last few years in order to, I guess, build a reputation that the studio wasn't very good, so that when they release Abandoned and it's awesome, people are convinced and see that you can't read a book by its cover. Like, I'm trying to piece it together, but I'm really struggling. And that's kind of it. There's been a couple other things that people have discovered and that people are pointing to as evidence for the conspiracy theory, but they get really obscure and, to be honest, pretty outlandish. For instance, there was this suggestion by Colin George on Reddit, and this is all in good fun, so it's not like he's actually suggesting that this is necessarily the case, but people are actually using this particular argument as an example of why this could be true. He said, "A graphic designer I work for pointed this out to me. If you look at a color wheel, the opposite of orange is blue. So you can read Sam flipping the box of oranges upside down during the Death Stranding director's cut trailer as a way of conveying the idea of reversal, or a blue box. Or maybe it's nothing." And that, of course, is a reference to this trailer for the director's cut that just dropped recently, where Sam pours out a box that's filled with oranges. So oranges are the opposite of blue. Orange is the opposite of blue, rather, and therefore Sam turning the box upside down infers or implies an inversion of the color orange. So therefore blue, and it's a box, so blue box. Catch what I'm saying? I mean, sure, you could just use like a blue box in this trailer and that would have been much more, I guess, reasonable, but no. Box with oranges in it, way better. But this is what's so amazing to me, is that this is believable. Like, Hideo Kojima is just insane enough where this could work and where he would do something like this to promote a game, that he would found a fake development studio 6 years in advance just so that he can do some obscure marketing ploy in the weeks and months leading up to the next PT or the next Silent Hill game, whatever it ends up being that he does. And kind of the last cherry on top of the sundae to this is that Blue Box is apparently working on some sort of app to reveal more info about the game for some reason. So they said that experience all trailers and gameplay reveals with images rendered real time by the PS5's hardware with the abandoned real-time trailers PS5 app. Game Hub Live now on PS5. Basically what they're saying is that they're going to release this, and this got delayed by the way, but they're saying that this is going to be used to watch trailers in real time, which will lead to higher fidelity in theory, and that is therefore an indication of like a larger budget, that smaller studios wouldn't do this. It's odd. And you see stuff like this. I can't recall any developer has done this or would even bother with an app like this. This has got to be Kojima behind it. There is already too much evidence. So pretty much what we're left with are two options. Either this is Kojima or it's not. If it's Hideo Kojima, we are dealing with a studio that was founded 6 years ago, that has released asset flipped crappy games, has tried to crowdfund things, has done all of these sort of fake projects for 6 years. Total waste of time, hasn't gone anywhere. Which I'm not saying Kojima would have done that, but he probably would have hired somebody to do that, or just posted like some cousin's work on there. Like either way, it's a bit of a stretch to say that he would spend the time to do that, but maybe he's crazy, so maybe that could work. And then they throw together this crappy trailer, put it out, and use it to advertise a bunch of secrets. And they hide all of these secret coded messages within the trailers, such as this sign in the abandoned trailer where they say, "Kill the trespassers." What two letters are obscured by this tree branch? The P and the T, sort of, like half covered. But clearly they're trying to signal that the P and the T are covered, therefore it's PT, a reference to PT, a continuation of it. And they're doing all of this to get people hyped up for this fake imaginary game so that they go and download this app, which will probably secretly be a new PT or a new demo for this new Silent Hills game, which is going to prove to everybody that the game is good because it was not advertised as a Kojima game for reasons. But the chief proof among all of this is that Kojima is just crazy enough where he would do something like this because he's totally insane and would think that this is a reasonable thing to do. The other option, though, is one where you have a developer who's never really done anything of note, has released a bunch of asset flip titles, has put together a quick trailer that doesn't show anything except for a couple of landscape sections and like hills and trees, and that's kind of it. Even this particular work isn't well done. It looks frankly pretty crappy and is not running well, especially considering it's advertised as a PlayStation 5 exclusive. He's put this together. All of a sudden, a ton of people are interested in it, start saying that it's actually secretly Kojima, so he realizes Kojima brings hype. So he starts sending out tweets, things that suggest that this could be a Silent Hill game. And then the hype builds even more. People are digging into his personal life, saying that he's actually Kojima and that he doesn't exist. And then he realizes, okay, maybe this is getting a little out of hand. So he starts deleting the tweets. He starts trying to cover it up. He's sending out tweets that are dedicated saying, I am not Kojima. I'm not affiliated with Kojima or Konami. This is not a Silent Hill game. Do not expect that. But the hype is already built up and people already believe the conspiracy theory. It's bigger than he is. He tried to ride that train to the hype train and it didn't go anywhere. You know, now it's off the rails. It's he can't control it and it's too late. But deep in his mind, he realizes that if he can sell this game on PlayStation 5, on the PlayStation Store, for however much he's charging, I don't think he's announced, but imagine $30 to $60 for each copy. He sells it for that. Refunds are a nightmare on PlayStation. So chances are he's going to keep 80%, 90% of the game sales that he gets. And he knows for a fact there are already thousands of people that are hyped up and are going to buy this thing on day one because they're convinced that this could be a Kojima game that is secretly a Silent Hills title, and they're going to end up wasting their money on a crappy asset flipped joke of a title because they bought into a crazy conspiracy theory. And that latter option seems a lot more realistic to me. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think this is Kojima. It seems so outlandish. I just don't see it. Yeah, there's a couple coincidences, but they're just that. I mean, when you're using something like this as evidence of your conspiracy theory, because a game is being developed by BlueBox Games, and then the guy in question is holding a vaguely blue container, we're getting silly. I think we're getting silly. So my overarching message here is don't buy Abandoned. It looks like garbage. It's probably going to be garbage. These guys have no track record, and there's no reason to believe that this thing will be anything more than an asset flipped joke of a title. Just because it's on PS5 does not mean it will be good. Like, at all. But the difficult thing is that this has grown so much and it's gotten so out of hand that even if Kojima comes out and says, this is not me, Silent Hills is not in development, or maybe it is and it's over here at this studio, this company has nothing to do with it. Even if he says that, people will take it as evidence of him covering it up so that people are diverted with their expectations and it gets hyped up even more. Like, there's no way of stopping it at this point other than us just being direct and honest with each other to say, like, this is like, it's fun, it's silly, but at some point, like, this is not real. So don't give this person your money, especially because this guy Hassan seems to be heavily implying and leaning into the theory that this is a Silent Hill game because he knows it will be good for his sales. He knows that by putting out a tweet like this, getting people to think that this could be a Silent Hill game, he'll get more sales. PS5 refunds are a nightmare and are stupid, and so most likely people will spend the $20 or $60 or whatever he ends up charging for it. We'll play it for 10 minutes, realize it's horrible and not a Kojima game at all, and then we'll just never touch it again, and he'll get to keep a lot of that money. This is what asset flippers do. It's a scummy, scammy way of doing business. And if this happens to be Kojima, if it turns out that by some miracle he actually has this grand scheme and this is what he's trying to do, I'll be just as stunned as everybody. But every indication says that this is not real, that it's like all fun and games, but that you definitely shouldn't give this guy your money. Because even the game that's being presented, ignore that it might be Silent Hill, ignore like all that stuff. What they've shown is garbage. Like, the trailer is garbage. Like, this is one of the worst looking forests I've seen in any game in the last 5 years. Look at this fire. Like, that's PS2 era fire. If that. It's horrible. Not to mention it's running at like 24 FPS. I don't know what on earth this is. Reveal gameplay thing coming soon. It's just a joke. I mean, like, again, it's all fun and games until somebody loses money that they actually needed for something else, and people are going to get scammed, and it sucks. Because you better believe a lot of struggling Twitch streamers and small YouTubers are going to buy this thing on day one in case it's Silent Hill, play it on stream, realize it's horrible and it's nothing, and they will have just wasted all that time, all that money for no reason whatsoever. And that's kind of what this guy Hassan seems to be relying on. And yes, even as I'm recording this video, I can see on Twitter in front of me that there's a bunch of updates coming in, people saying that they've spoken to Hassan and that he's trying to stress that this is not a Silent Hill game, that he's not Kojima, has nothing to do with them. But again, it's just too big at this point. He leaned into it, he played it up, and now there's no stopping it. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for one. For two, I was just finishing editing all of this, and Hassan Karaman actually just went live and did sort of a Q&A type of thing where he answered a bunch of basic questions about his team, about the studio, BlueBox, and about everything they're doing with this game Abandoned. He says all of the hype and everything has just gotten out of control, and he doesn't want people to be disappointed. It seems very heartfelt, and I don't blame him if he's freaking out right now, convinced that people are going to want his head on a platter when Abandoned doesn't turn out to be Silent Hill. But even so, I don't have a ton of sympathy even after watching this. In my opinion, he was playing with fire, hammed up these conspiracy theories for a while for the free clout on the internet and the hype, and now it's kind of out of control. It's beyond anybody's capacity to deal with it. I think everybody accepts at this point that this is all just silly fun and games and none of it's real, but still, why I think this is worrisome for the industry as a whole is because this precedent that's been set is really bad. The idea that you can just straight up play with hype and conspiracy theories and emotion and in some cases just straight up lie to your consumers, or at the very least heavily imply things that are not true in order to generate hype for your game, that's a dangerous thing to play with, because imagine if EA or Ubisoft or Bethesda and Xbox or PlayStation starts to do that type of thing. I don't want that to be the case in this industry. There's enough like obfuscation that already takes place. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm hoping that this is not a trend that we see develop over the next few years, but I guess we'll see. I have a moth flying flying all over the place behind me. I'll have to let the cats in. They'll hunt that dude down real quick. Anyway, thank you for watching. Again, let me know your thoughts below. I love you all for making it this far in the video. You're doing the Lord's work. Hugs and kisses. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.